Once a year, society actively encourages us to break all of our standard safety rules. We wander the streets in the dark, mask our identities, and walk directly up to the doors of complete strangers. For 99% of people, this is a night of harmless fun. But that universally accepted deviation from normal behavior provides the ultimate camouflage for malicious actors. In this threat detection matrix, the horizontal line representing baseline safety drops drastically as expected fear spikes on October 31st. Our brains are primed for manufactured scares. Consequently, genuine predatory behavior often registers merely as a holiday prank, drastically delaying our natural fight-or-flight response. To understand how dangerous this is, we need to examine 3 verified near-fatal accounts from people who survived by trusting their instincts over holiday norms. Halloween is a tactical opportunity for those who wish to do harm in plain sight. Our first case takes place at a wooded family resort, where a 12-year-old boy and his friend were attending a haunted hayride. Midway through the ride, the boy noticed an anomaly. A man in normal street clothes, a black jacket and a baseball cap, was standing in the dark woods. He wasn't participating in the scares. He was standing perfectly still, staring directly at the boy. Because the boys were in a designated scare zone, they rationalized the man's creepy behavior. They assumed he was just an attraction worker taking a break, or maybe a strange parent. Later that night, the boys decided to wander down a dark, isolated dirt path away from the main resort crowd. Almost immediately, they heard heavy, adult footsteps following close behind them. The man stepped from the shadows, holding an orange candy wrapper. He offered them a Reese's cup and casually mentioned that he'd been watching them on the hayride earlier. That specific detail shattered the illusion of safety, and the boys sprinted for their lives back to the crowded resort. The predator weaponized the boys' expectation of being scared. He used the inherent creepiness of the haunted attraction to hide his stalking until he had them completely isolated. In our second case, a 22-year-old armed citizen was escorting his 15-year-old sister and 11-year-old nephew through a busy suburban neighborhood to collect candy. As the night wound down and the crowds thinned out, he noticed a figure in a black cloak and full face mask silently tracking them from across the street. When they sped up, the figure matched their pace. Realizing the threat was imminent, the 22-year-old drew his concealed Glock, pointed it at the stalker, and demanded to know why they were being followed. Take a look at this standard police tactical vest. Notice how the prominent layout instantly communicates authority. The stalker removed her mask, revealing this exact type of tactical gear, and claimed to be an undercover cop investigating a break-in. She demanded he drop his weapon. The 22-year-old asked why an undercover officer would wear a full tactical vest over a hooded cloak, and why she was standing outside a home she claimed was being robbed. As she stared back in silence, 4 more tactically equipped figures emerged from the shadows between the houses. The victim shoved his family into their car and sped away. The group exploited our psychological instinct to comply with law enforcement. By simulating a police presence, they turned a common Halloween costume into a psychological trap. Our final scenario involves a 29-year-old man named Roger, who was watching a horror movie alone in his quiet house on the outskirts of town late on Halloween night. Around 10:30 p.m., Roger heard a faint knock at his side door. He ignored it, assuming it was a straggling trick-or-treater or a standard ding-dong ditch prank. Suspicious noises on Halloween benefit from a unique psychological shield. Homeowners frequently rationalize early signs of a breach as harmless rule-breaking, creating a critical delay in their defensive response. 15 minutes later, the sounds moved to the unused back deck. Creeping into the kitchen, Roger saw a man in a cheap, cracked mask, calmly testing the doorknob with a crowbar in his hand. The attacker knew Roger was inside, and he didn't care. The man moved to the basement window, pried off the screen, and began breaking the glass. Roger locked himself upstairs and desperately whispered updates to a 911 dispatcher. The attacker deliberately used the cover of neighborhood trick-or-treaters to execute a home invasion. He banked on the fact that a homeowner wouldn't immediately call the police for a bump in the night on October 31st. Police arrived with their lights flashing just as the man breached the house. Officers tackled the suspect just past Roger's driveway and discovered he had a long criminal record involving home invasions. When police searched his bag, they found a crowbar, duct tape, zip ties, a .45 caliber handgun, and rope. These were tools for a kidnapping, which investigators later linked to several unsolved missing persons cases. The psychological toll on survivors is permanent. Days after escaping the tactical group in his neighborhood, the 22-year-old received an anonymous text from an unknown number. It contained no words, just this photo of his car, parked at his apartment complex. The man in the woods and the group in the neighborhood were never identified. The victims are left with lasting PTSD, a hypervigilance of crowds, and the knowledge that their stalkers are still out there. Halloween is meant to be a night of fantasy, but the world's real monsters don't need magic to disappear. They just need a mask and a society willing to look the other way.